Hello and welcome. In the previous video, I showed you how to post data from an HTML form using PHP. So today we are continuing with our tutorial. This is part 2. And please, if you are new to this channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Also, please remember to like, share, and comment. Let your views be heard on with regard to the content that you are getting in this particular channel. So today we are continuing with our tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to integrate a Bootstrap admin template into your application. So this is how our application is going to look like after we integrate a Bootstrap admin template. So we are going to create, I'm going to take you through the process of creating something that looks like this. I think it is appealing enough to you. As it appears, you will have a very nice form here, properly arranged, as opposed to the one that we had here, which is not properly arranged. We'll also have a table for displaying all the records that the user has created within the database. So let's start. We are going back to Sublime Text. So this is our form. So I want us to do the following. So I want us to do the following. I want us to create some more folders so that we can be able to do what we call separation of concerns. I want us to create a table, not a table, but a folder for the connection. I want us to create a folder for the layout files and the main. I want us to create a folder for the layout. I want us to create the folder for every page that we are going to create within this particular application. So the first folder that we are going to create, I will call it dev. I'll call it dev. Then within dev, I will create another folder which I will call connection. Then within dev again, I will create another folder which I will call layout. Then lastly, I will create another folder which I will call test. So I want to save the connection within the connection folder. That's the dbcon.php within the connection folder. So I can just do a save as, or we can just go to our application directory. Then we can easily copy this, cut this, and paste within the connection like that. Then post test and index, I want to cut them and paste them within tests like that. So we can go back to our Sublime Text. Then as we can see, let us just close this first. No need of saving because we've transferred. So as you can see, the connection is here. Layout will create more files as we integrate our template. Then post test is here. So I want us to change the path of this connection file. Now that we have moved it to a different folder, we'll need to change the path. So for us to get to dbcon.php from post test, we'll have to go back one step like that. So once we go back one step, we now find connection, then dbcon.php like that. So this is how our connection will appear. Let me show you what will happen if we don't include that. Let us try to run this application. Now the path has changed to dev, then tests. So let us see. Dev test. Okay, this one will open because it is an HTML file that doesn't require path to be correct. But let us just try to post this and see. Let us just try to post this and see. So as you can see, it is not getting the file because of the location. The location has changed. That is why it cannot find it. So we have to indicate the correct path to the file for it to be able to be accessed from this particular end. So let us refresh and see. So as you can see, it's now working. It's telling us that the record already exists. So we can now continue with our application. So whatever we are going to do is that we are going to use an Bootstrap admin template called Matrix Admin. This is where it is. So I downloaded this template. I downloaded this template and stored it here. So we can come here. Bootstrap admin templates, it is here. So Matrix admin is what you are going to use. You can use any template of your choice. It's not a must that you use Matrix admin. Whatever you are supposed to know is how you are going to integrate that template within your application. So we open this, then we look for the HTML files, then index. So we want to open this index and try to understand how it has been designed, how various components have been placed on this particular template. So this is how the template appears. So if we integrate this template within our application, then we expect our application to appear the same way this particular template is appearing. So for us to copy this template, we have to see the page source. So just right click within the page, then view source. So in the first case, we are going to copy the whole of this template into our application. We will create another folder under dev and call it home. Then within home, we will create a new file where we will paste all that we've copied from the source. Then we save and call it index.php. I want us to use PHP for reasons that I will explain. This one, when you use PHP, it enables us to integrate or to use PHP code within HTML. But if you use HTML, we cannot, like the PHP processor cannot identify PHP code that has been written within an HTML file. So that's why it's advisable for you to use .php, because that one makes it easy for you to use both HTML and Bootstrap in the same file. So let us try to load this and see how it appears. So this is dev home index.php. So let us just come back here, then try to go to home and Okay, so when we load this page, as you can see, it is not displaying the same way it is displaying here. So you may wonder why we've copied all the files, or we have copied all the source code. Then after placing here, it is not displaying the same way it is displaying here. So the reason why it is displaying this way is because in this template here, whatever is making it appear like this are the CSS and JavaScript files that are used. So remember, here we've copied the source. Within this source, there are links to PHP and not PHP, but JavaScript and CSS files that we've not included in our application. Like in this case, if we check here, you will realize that we have a link and a CSS link to assets, libs, float, CSS, and so on. We have another link to dist. We have another, now that is for CSS. We have another link to assets and dist for JavaScript. So for us to ensure that this template appears the same way it's appearing here, we have to copy all the CSS and JavaScript files that are attached to this particular template and place them in our application. So we have assets and dist. So we have to go back to our application. We have to go back to our application and copy assets and dist. So the folders are there. We copy, right click, copy. Then we go to our application, test application, then paste all of them there. So we've placed all the files for CSS and JavaScript. Let us go back to our application and check what we call paths. We have to specify the exact path to the location where the CSS and JavaScript is stored. So we are in index and this index is in home. So we want to check, or we want to write a path to assets and dist so that we are able to call the particular JavaScript or CSS files within this particular folder. So if we are at home, we go back one step, we get to dev. And when you are in dev, we go back one step, we get to assets or dist. So that's why here we are not going to change anything because this is the correct path. So this means 2./2./, it means we are moving 2 steps from the current folder before we are able to get to assets. Same to dist, we are moving 2 steps from the current folder before we get to dist. So let us save and try to refresh this, then see how it will appear. So as you can see, it is now displaying correctly the same way it was displaying in the template that we copied. Somebody may ask where I got this Bootstrap Admin Template from. These templates are available online for free. So just Google Bootstrap Admin Template. Then whenever you get the template, you can. There are those that allow you to download. There are those that are commercial. So whenever you get a free one, just download, then you can use it in your application. But the most important thing is for you to understand how you are going to integrate it into your application. So here we've loaded the whole template within our application that is under the index.php file. But our intention is to continue using this template. Our intention is to continue using this template even for the dynamic files. For example, if I open my test form, I want it to appear within this particular template. That's a dynamic page. We can have so many other dynamic pages that we want to appear within this template. So within this template, we have around 3 or 4 sections. We have the left, we have the sidebar, we have the top bar, we have the content area, then we have the footer. So some of these sections are static. For example, the sidebar, the top bar, and the footer are static, while the content area is dynamic. Dynamic in the sense that you can load more than one file. Like you can keep loading files within this without changing the static areas. So static areas remain with their content, but it's only the dynamic area that changes. So we are going to ensure that we make this template in such a way that it can allow us to load dynamic pages within this particular area. So the first thing we are going to do is for us to create what we call a header and a footer. So we'll split this content, we split this template, we split this template into a header and a footer. So we need to identify where the header ends, where the footer ends, and where the dynamic content will be. So the header generally will cover the top bar and the bottom and the sidebar. Then the footer will cover this footer area. Then we'll have the part of the dynamic content. So we'll split it into two, the header and the footer. Then we'll be calling the header and the footer within our dynamic pages. So in this template, as you can see, the white area, or is it gray, is where our dynamic content will be appearing. So we need to check, we need to view the HTML. It's here. So we need to view where the dashboard is. Dashboard is here. So we are searching for this. Remember, this is the first element within the dynamic area. So we need to check this dashboard, search, dashboard. So it is here. There is a class called a page wrapper. So normally a page wrapper is the Bootstrap, not Bootstrap, but is the CSS class for most of these templates that identifies where dynamic content starts. So we need to search this page wrapper. That means the header will be all content from the page wrapper upwards, then the footer will be all content from the page wrapper downwards. So we need to copy this like this, then we will paste it. We will create a new file within layout and paste everything there. Then we can call it header.php like that. So this one is going up to the page wrapper. Then we will go back to our template. We want to now copy the content for the footer. So remember, within this particular code, there is all the content for the header, footer, and the dynamic content. This is the content that is showing when you first open. So like here, this one is supposed to be dynamic because we'll be loading other pages within this. So if we are creating our header and footer, we don't need to indicate this code. So we are going to copy everything else after the page wrapper, excluding the dynamic content. So let us just scroll downwards and see where the page wrapper ends. So this is where the page wrapper ends. but still we have here what we are referring to as the footer. So we shall copy plus the footer. So the page wrapper ends there. We copy plus the footer like that. Then we can place it in our footer. We create a new file called footer, paste everything there. So save footer.php like that. So within this footer, as you can see, we have some messages, some footer message, copyright message, and so on. So we can add here our copyright. So how do we write copyright in HTML? We just write copy like that, not semicolon. Then we want to write the year. So for us to write the year, we shall call a PHP, or we shall use PHP. We want to use a dynamic year so that if the year changes, we don't have to go back to our application and change the year. So for us to pick the year, we write a date function, and within it write y. That means it is going to pick the current year. So all rights reserved. Then we can say designed and developed by say Nasi Tech Solutions like that. So we can save that. So the next thing we are going to do is to call this footer within our application. Within we had a file called index.html under test. We are also going to change this file. We are going to rename it to something else. Call it index.php. Remember, I told you php.php files are recommended because they allow you to use both HTML and PHP within the same file. So we can now call our PHP code and say we now include the header. So include PHP include, then we call the header. So where is the header? Header is under layout. So for us to get to layout, we have to go back one step. So one step, then layout, then header.php like that. Like that. Same thing will happen here for the footer. So we include footer.php, then save. Okay, we have to use have to put semicolon there. So we can save. Then we can try to launch our application and see. Just refresh here. Then we can call test. It's still not showing. So let us check the paths for the header. So we have page wrapper, then footer. Oh yes, I didn't include the HTML. I didn't include the HTML files. So that is for the footer. I didn't copy everything, so I need to copy the whole of this and paste it within my footer. So I will just copy this like that. Then I will come back here and remove this because this is already here. So I'll just come and remove this, then we'll be good to go. So let us try to refresh our application and see. Yeah, as you can see, it's now showing, but the year is not displaying. So we can come back here. PHP date year. All rights reserved. Can use a vertical slash here. So PHP date. Oh, we didn't echo, so we need to echo this one. Need to echo, then refresh. So as you can see, it's now showing the year. So after showing all this, the next thing is for us to style this form so that at least it can appear like this one here. We had some template here that was open. So anyway, we just want to style this form so that it appears better, the display becomes better, and then we can also create a table that will be showing the records that have been created by the user in the same form. So let us see some more elements that this template has. So we can go to forms, then check form basic. So we want our form to appear this way, like this, but at least occupy the whole horizontal width. So we will go to view page source, then find this personal info. We'll have to copy from here div row, div class equals to row, then we'll copy up to where it ends. So for us to know where it ends, we have to see how many divs come before the form, so that once we close the form, we count 3 divs from where the form closed. Then we will continue. So be careful to see where the form ends. It is here. I think it is a coordination. So we have only 1 div. That means once we get to our application, we have to add 2 more divs to close all the open divs. So we come back here to our test file index.php. So what I want us to do is to paste this, paste all this here, then we can rearrange it. That one is like that. So this is card body. Then we can call this is the form title, test form. Then we can, so this one will be the same level as this one. Then the label is within the div, it comes there. This one is like that. So first name is already there, so we don't have to recreate it. So that one will be like that. So instead of creating other fields, you can just use the ones, we can just copy this and paste. So I will give it a name. Remember, the name is what we use to paste or to send the data to the database. Then the placeholder is just first name. So I want to delete these others up to here. No, up to contacts. Still have more. So up to here, I want to delete up to there. Then I will copy these and paste. So I just want to reuse this code instead of continuing to type. So this is middle name. Remember to add the required property. So this is middle name. So this one becomes m name, and this one is middle name, like that. Next is the last name, L name. Last name, L name. Still it is required. This also required. So last name is also required, like that. So we can save that, then we can start another div, like that. So we can close the divs. Remember, there were 2 divs to be closed, so we can close all the divs like that. So let's go back and see. So we have this div called card body, which we haven't closed, I think. Yes, so it has to be closed here. Yes, now it's okay. So that this one moves here, and this one moves here, and this one moves here, and this one moves there, like that. So the next thing we are going to do is to give the form the same ID. So ID equals to test form, but you're not going to give it the action and the method, because we are not going to post using the default way of posting. Instead, we are going to use Ajax in our posting of the data from the form to PHP. Then I want us to give this button an ID, btn submit. Then instead of giving it the type button, we want it to be a submit button by default. So after doing all that, we can now remove this form so that we are left with this one. So I want us to see how this one will now appear. So we just go back to our page and reload. Then you'll see. So this is how it's appearing. As you can see, it is not covering the whole page, which does not also appear properly. So it is appearing this way because by default, an HTML page is divided into 12 rows. So if we use 6, it means we are only taking half the page. So we have to change this one so that this div occupies 12 rows, which means the entire page. So we can refresh here and see. As you can see now, it is occupying the whole page. The next thing is for us to place this submit on the right, because if it is here, it will not appear well also. So for us to place it on the right, we just need to call a class called right. Just need to call a class called right, then right, no, align right. Still not moving. Can call float right. Okay, you can see it's now appearing on the right, which looks better. So the next thing we are going to do is for us to use a data table within this particular form, so that we can be able to show all the records that the user has added, plus the delete and edit buttons. So we'll go back to our template. Our template is here. So we go to tables and our template, just open tables. Then this is the table we want to use. We want to use this table. As you can see, it looks very nice. It has the search feature. You can choose the number of rows to show. We have navigation buttons here. So I think this one will be good for our application. But we need to get the right code from the template, so that we can be able to use the same code within our application. So I want us to copy this because it will assist us to get this table from the page source. So just check, find basic data table. So I want us to copy this code. This code starts from div class equals to crud. So we have to count the number of divs before the table. We have 1, 2, 3 divs. So we can copy. That means we copy 3 divs after closing the table. We copy 3 divs after closing the table. 1, 2, 3. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3. So we copy this code and put it into our application before the footer, obvious. So place it there like that. So we can readjust. We can call this is the table title. You can call it test records. Then this one comes back like that. I want us to change the ID of this table to test table. Then we can continue. So this one is first name. Let us call it first name. Middle name. Then this one becomes last name. Then we can remove. No, before that we need to add a header for the number to show the row number. Then we also need to add a header for edit and delete, so we can have both edit and delete appearing here. Then we can remove the rest. Then we start the body. So first I remove all the content that is within the body first. So I removed all the content within the body like that. Then I also want to remove the footer, because it's not needed in this. So we can close the table, then close our divs. There is something that is not okay. This one should be at the same level as this one. That's why. So that this one comes here. Ensure you indent your content properly or your codes properly, so that it can be easy for somebody to follow through your code. And this one comes there, this one comes there, this one comes there like that, and the table will be there. This div closes there, this one there, and finally this one closes there. So this is what I want us to do. In the table body, first I want us to call the connection, because we are going to do queries to the table so that we can get records and display. So we'll do PHP include, then our connection file is in connection, then dbcon.php. So we can do that to include the file. Then the next thing we are going to do is to query our database. Next thing we are going to do is to query our database so that we can be able to see if there are any records or if there are no records. So we'll create a queries variable called SQL. Then we say select all from test table. Remember, test table is the name of the table in our database. This is the table we are calling. This is the table we are calling. It is here. So this is the table we are calling test table. So please don't confuse the two. Where deleted equals to false. We want to find records from the database that have not been deleted. Remember, I told you the best practice for database design is for you not to clear records from the tables whenever the user deletes. It's only a status that changes. It's only a status that changes whenever you delete. So when you delete in the front end, that's for the user, it will be showing deleted. But in the back end, it will only be changing a status, maybe from true to false or from false to true, like that. So we are searching records which are not deleted, because if they are not deleted, if they are deleted, then they should not appear to the user. Then we will create a query equals to mysqli query so query will be, no, we are supposed to close this one here. So we are writing everything within PHP, so we don't close it here. Let me just bring this one down. So this is how it will be. So mysqli query, so we call the link first, the connection, then we call the query SQL. So after calling that, we'll do an if statement to check if any records have been returned. So we do if mysqli num rows, that's the number of rows returned by the query, num rows, and $ query QRY less than or equal to 0, then we will echo, then we'll echo a table row, we'll echo a table row, then within it we write this message: no records found. No records found. Or alternatively, we can do this. We can create a table data within this. We can create a table data which spans how many columns? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So which spans all the columns? Call span. So we call it call span equals to 6. So, and we say no records found. Else, that means if mysqli num rows is greater than 0, then we do another if. Not if, but while. This one loops through all the records within the table and displays in this particular section. So while row, we have to get the rows, specific rows within this particular records that have been returned. So mysqli fetch ASOC, that fetches the specific rows from the query. So if mysqli fetch ASOC, while mysqli fetch ASOC, while row equals to mysqli fetch ASOC, then we do what? First, we've checked that records are available, or if records are available or not. So if they are not available, no records. If they are available, we loop through all the records, then we display them in the table. So we will do an echo, then we create a table row like that. I want us to organize it this way. So this table row has to have an opening tag like that. Then this is the closing tag. So remember, we have a number column. This one we will use an auto increment field to create this column. So you can just create a variable called I and equate it to 0. So the moment we start looping, we will be incrementing I by 1. So I equals to I plus 1, like that. So that one increments our variable I. And remember, in our table, the first column is the auto increment, or the column the row number field. So we create a table data. Then, because it's a variable, we have to do this. So we are calling I here like that. We are calling I. Then the next thing, we are calling the row. Remember, we are equating the row to whatever is returned. So we can call the variable row and get the specific row within the returned results. So like the second column is first name. So that one returns first name. The next column is middle name. Then the last column is last name. Last column is last name. Then apart from this, we have the two columns for edit and delete. So this is what we will do. For the two columns, we will create a button that we will use to perform the edit and delete actions. So within this, we create a button type equals to button. Remember to use single quotes because we are already engrossing the whole thing within double quotes. So button type equals to button, class equals to btn primary. Remember, these CSS classes have been already created for you in Bootstrap. Then the ID, we need to give it an ID because when you click on it, we need to get the specific row for that particular record. So we give it an ID. So the ID, we get the row. We get the row for that particular record. We get the ID field for that particular record. So that one becomes the ID. Then on click equals to, we create a function called request edit. Then we give it this. So this means you can use this to get any property of this button, like type, like class, like ID, and so on. So after that, we need to create, now under the name, we are not going to display the name, but instead we are going to display the icon, what we call font awesome icon. So iClass equals to, that's how we call the font awesome icon. Let us close this I. Then we'll go back to the template and see which icons are there. So just go to icons, then check font awesome icons, then find. So for delete, we have the pencil icon. So we use, not delete, for edit, we'll use the pencil icon. So class, this is what we put under the class. So once we are done, we can copy this and reuse it for delete. So we use it for delete. So the only thing that is changing here is the row ID remains. Request delete, this one will be request delete. Then this, that one remains. Then we are also going to change the font awesome icon for this. So delete is normally called trash within the font awesome icons. So we can either use this or this. Let us use this. So we can copy and paste here, then save. Let us come here and refresh, then we see how it appears. Okay, the reason why it is not showing is because we have created a bootstrap, not a bootstrap, but a data table, but we haven't copied the styles and the JavaScript. As you can see here, for this table, we have a style here called bootstrap for data table.bootstrap4.css. We need to copy this into our header. We need to copy this into our header like that. Then we also need to copy the JavaScript for the same data table. So we come down here to scripts. Then there is this script for the same data table. We need to copy and place it now in our footer. Remember, scripts are in our footer because we separated. So we place it there, that. Then apart from that, when we look at this template, there is a script for rendering this table. It is here. So we need to copy this. Then still under the same principle of separation of concerns, we can create under dev, we can create a new file. Then our table ID, remember it's picking the ID, so we need to check the table ID. Our table ID is test table. So this is what we are going to write here, test table. We're going to replace with whatever was there. Then we save it as render data table.js. It's JavaScript. Then can save. Then after doing that, we still need to add it here to our scripts. Type, we can remove the type, there's no need. We can just put the source. So source, remember we are in the footer, that is a layout. For us to go back to JS, we didn't create the folder JS, so we create the folder first, JS. Then this script has to be saved in JS, so we can go back here to dev, then copy this, cut this and paste in scripts like that. So I want to copy this because I'll include it in the path. So the source, while we are in layout, we go back one step, then find JS, then after that the name .js, like that, so that we are able to render this script within our page. So let us refresh and see. Still not showing. Let's try to check our PHP code and see if there is any problem with it. So we can try to remove this and see if it will load and what it will load. So let us refresh. As you can see, it's now loading, showing no records available. Our table is loading very well. So let us reintroduce our PHP file, our PHP code, and see, try to check through and see if there's any problem with it. So you can try to follow through and see. I don't think there's any need for us to use this, because as you can see, the table itself is able to show you if there's no data available. So there's no need of us writing this. So we can do away with that. Then you can just trying to realign this. So let us try to refresh this and see. If we get anything from it. So there's a pass error at line 71. I think we didn't remove this. Let us remove it. So we can refresh again. Okay, as you can see, it's now displaying. So the next thing we are going to do is for us to change the color of these icons. These are the font awesome icons. The icon color and the background color of the button. So we will go back to our application. Then we have to create some CSS code that we will use to set the color of our icons. So under dev, we'll add a new folder called CSS. Then within this folder, we create a new CSS file. Let us just save it first. So we call it custom.css. Then we create a class called btn edit. That's our CSS class. Then background color is transparent. We don't want the buttons to have color. Currently it is blue, but we don't want them to have any color. Border, none. We don't want them to have any border. Then color is green. For edit it will be green. For delete it will be red. That, so this one is delete. So this one is red. Then the next thing we are going to do is to do what we call hover. When you pass a cursor over that particular button, hover, background color will become, for edit it will become green. Then the color for the icon will become white. Then if you hover on delete, background color will become red, and border will be, remove the border, and color becomes white, like that. So for us to use this style within our app, we need to go to header and add this style here. So we do a link href equals to, where is our style located? It is in CSS. So if we are here in layout, we go back to CSS one step, then find custom.css. Then that one is style sheet, like that. Then next we have to call this these classes within our, we have to call btn edit and btn delete within our buttons. So after the class, we just add btn edit. Then here call btn delete, like that. Let us refresh and see. So as you can see, they are now appearing very nice, just the same way we set the CSS features. The last thing we are going to do to these buttons is to add what we call a tooltip. So let us go back to our template and see if we have any tooltips. Let us check the elements, then tooltip is here. So we are going to look for tooltip on top in our page source. So just find tooltip on top. It is here. So we have to copy from data toggle up to title here. So we copy this, then we place it, we can place it before the ID. And remember to use single quotes because we've already closed double quotes. Position is top. Then title becomes edit. Like that. So we can still copy this and use it for delete. So just before the ID, we can do that, then save. So let us refresh our page and see how it will appear. Now, as you can see, the tooltip is showing, which is also very nice. The tooltips are showing. So we can still okay, that is that. So once you get there, we can now say that we've successfully added a Bootstrap admin template within our application. But lastly, before we finish this tutorial, I want us to set links to the various pages within our application. So first, we will go to home. Remember, this is the file that we copied everything. So I want us to set this link for the dashboard. Remember, we are in home. So if you are in home, there's no need of setting the link for the dashboard. So you just put hash reload. Then under charts, we want to change charts to test page. So we can just call this test page. I'm just using this example. In case you have more than one link, you will know how to set. So the href for this, if we are in home, how do we get to test? So we go back one step, then find test, then you can save. Then I want us to go to the header. Header is within the layout, and remember we are using header specifically for test. So if you are within test, for example, I want to check the link. So if you are within test, how do you get to home? We go back one step, then home. But you don't need any link. Because you are in the same page here. So we just write test page like that. Then we can refresh. Let us refresh and see. So if we click on the dashboard, when we are in tests, that is how it appears. Then if we are in the dashboard, we can now click on test and it comes here. So as you can see, if you click on test one while you are here, it doesn't load, but dashboard will load like that. So we have successfully integrated a Bootstrap admin template with every feature included within our application. Remember, you can edit all this and put your own images, put your own links, and so on. So the next thing we are going to do, that is in the next video, we are going to see how we can now post data to the backend and retrieve it using Ajax. Ajax means asynchronous JavaScript. Asynchronous in the sense that you can post data to the backend and retrieve it without reloading the page. So for the user, they will just think they are on the same page, while in the backend, you are connecting to various other pages for you to be able to get the data to bring to the user. So please stay tuned, and if you are new to this channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like, comment, and share these videos. So stay tuned as we wait for the next video. Otherwise, have a nice time. Let's meet in the next tutorial. Thank you.